As you may know, I typically make a fun fold card for my alternate project, and this is no different. And we're going to maximize as much of this kit as possible. The kit makes these amazing cards right here. We have an add on to the months of April, May, and June that you can use. It's little dies that coordinate with something with each kit in those 3 months. I have chosen not to use those. Instead, we're going to utilize these pieces from the kit. And we've got some oars and a life jacket. We've got this card base and an envelope, which will work perfectly for our sky, and a label, and not the old olive, just the white. The old olive is extra. Stay tuned. And then, you've got pieces that we're going to need to create the alternate. Let's begin by doing some cutting, and we're going to start with the envelope. So grab that if you are playing along. And we're going to cut this upside down. Hello. We're going to start at the bottom edge of the envelope, and we're going to put it right up next to the edge of the dark gray, where the dark gray meets the white there. That is just so that we cut a sliver off to open up the envelope. Okay. So we just opened the envelope here. Then we're going to turn it and cut it at 4 inches. 4 inches, which is the width of what we need it. And you can see it's a tunnel. And then we're going to just put one of the long edges up to the top of the trimmer. And again, same thing. We're just going to put the folded edge up to where the gray and white meet on your trimmer and trim that off. And then we're going to open this up and cut it at 5 1/4, so that we end up with a piece that's 5 1/4 by 4, and that is a regular layer on a card base. The rest of this envelope we will not use, so you can save that for something else that I'm sure is going to be fabulous. Then we're going to take our card base, and we are going to cut this at 3 1/4. And then we're going to turn it and cut it at 4 1/2. So 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. So we're going to keep those two pieces together because we're going to use those on our card. And then we're also going to cut this piece. So we will start by, what should we do? We're going to start by cutting this at 4 inches. And then we're going to turn it all the way for 180 degrees and cut it at 3 3/4 inches. That way we're cutting off some from both sides so we can use all of this scene here. Then we're going to put the sky over here on the left-hand side. Nope, other way. We're going to put the dock on the left-hand side, and we're going to cut that at 3 3/4. Okay. And then we're going to turn it 180 degrees, and we're going to cut this at 2 1/2 inches. So what you're going to end up with is this scene right here. And, if you've got a use for these other pieces, fantastic. Go get them. Okay, so we've cut that apart, and I think that is all we need to cut for that. So these are the 3 pieces from the envelope and the card base that you were going to need. 5 1/4 by 4, 4 1/2 by 3 1/4, and 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. All right. Oop, I'm going to keep my trimmer out though, because I need to bring in my Peaceful Pine cardstock. and it is cut at 4 1/4 by 9 1/2, and it is scored at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to put the top edge at 3/4 of an inch in our trimmer. And then we're going to cut to the 3-inch line, which is the 1, 2, 3rd score line in. So just cut that far. And then we're going to go to 1 1/2 inches and cut to the 1-inch mark. So just the first score line, so that you have cuts that look like this. Then using our snips, we're going to cut from that 3-inch score line up to the 4-inch score line at a diagonal. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to cut from the 1-inch score line up to the 2-inch score line, so that we cut that at an angle just like the other one. So this is how your card base should look at this point. Then we're going to use our bone folder to really give these a good crease as we accordion fold. So we fold back and forward and back. Okay, so here's what we have to be able to do that, or to give us the look that we need. Then we're going to open this up and adhere our envelope piece to the back, and it should fit very nicely here as a layer on that back portion. Then we're going to take this piece and adhere it to a piece of Peaceful Pine cardstock that's cut a little bit bigger. So it is cut at 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So we'll add that to there like so. And then we're going to add that here. So there's a fold that comes down, and this whole flat part here is where we're going to adhere this. So I'm going to put adhesive, just 2 lines of adhesive here. And then this fits perfectly in place from bottom to top on that panel. Then we're going to close all the accordion panels, because next we're going to add our scene to a piece of 4 inches by 2 3/4 inch Peaceful Pine cardstock. And we're going to adhere it on here the same way we did the second one. So 2 lines of adhesive and get that edge lined up. And there we go. Now check out that fun fold. It's a cascading card. I've seen it. I've heard it called a few different things, but I call it a cascading card because it cascades down. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's what I've been calling it. All right, then we're going to take some oars. They come from the kit. If you have the designer series paper that coordinates, you can also find oars that you can fussy cut right on the DSP. And that makes for a fun option as well, because you have a seemingly endless amount of oars that you can fussy cut and recreate this card. So I'm just going to crisscross my oars. And I've put one of them down into the Peaceful Pine color. into the Peaceful Pine border, I should say. And then we're going to take some of our black twine that comes in the kit. And I'm just going to wrap tightly around a couple fingers. And then using my adhesive, just going to put a little bit of adhesive there and do a little figure 8 with my twine. And put that over there. I may have gotten a little crazy with my adhesive. So what I love about Stampin' Seal is that you can roll it right off with your finger. Okay, so there's that. Then we'll take a label from the kit and the sentiment that says older, wiser, better. Love that. Ooh, my pad fell apart. I noticed that happen. Now, what can you do to fix that? A little hot glue. A little hot glue will do it. I'm going to just push this into place so I get through what I got to do here, hopefully. Oh, hopefully or not. Okay, so Peaceful Pine. Now it's all over my fingers, so we got to be careful. Older, wiser, better. Okay. Oh, geez. Okay. Then on the other side, I'm going to stamp, not on the other side, on a piece of white. And I'll tell you the size in just a sec. I just want to get the stamping over with so I don't have to mess with this anymore. A little hot glue underneath that and it'll be good as new. And my little happy birthday will go right there. And this goes on to a piece of old olive. Now you need to know the measurements here, so let me measure it for you. 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then 3 by 4 or 4 by 3 for the old olive. So being as careful as I can here, trying to keep my fingers, inky fingers, out of the mess, which I didn't do a very good job of doing on the front here. But we'll see if we can fix that up. But we're going to go to the inside. And we're going to adhere this kind of down here in the corner. Why? Because we want that to cover it up. So we're just going to go about a 1/2 inch from the left and the bottom edges. Oh, I made a mess of ink. I'll have to fix that. And now that I've given this a minute to dry and to try to gain my dignity back again, we're going to add our dimensionals. I'm going to be generous with 4 minis. We're going to add this to the front. And then we have one more space to decorate. Okay. So we have happy birthday. You know what? I'm going to take that off because I really made a mess of that. Okay. Did you see how easy that was to get off? That, my friends, is Stampin' Seal. It really is a super nice. It seals it. It does really well to hold, but it also has some forgiveness there. So I'm gonna go back to the Peaceful Pine. We're gonna try this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do happy birthday on here, which is kind of what I wanted to do anyway. So that mess gave me an opportunity to do that. So this is a piece from the kit, and you'll find it measuring 1 3/4 by 1 3/8. And so this is 1 7/8 by 1 1/2, and that is old olive. So we're going to add this. onto here like so. And then we'll put this down on the plaid page. And again, we just want to make sure it's going to get covered up. And one thing I did in advance is I took the cattail stamp from the little stamp set in the kit, and I stamped a cattail in pecan pie ink, and I fussy cut it out. And we're just going to add it there. And the little stone stickers here are just so much fun. So now we're going to just add our little stones here at the bottom of our cattails. And then I'll just add a piece of white on here for a little bit extra writing. So that is a super fun cascading card, and you can find all of the details on my blog so that you get the measurements and all the things, and double check your ink pad before you flip it upside down and go crazy with it, so that it doesn't fall out on you. All right. Thank you for joining me. Oh, one more thing. Oh my gosh, I gotta put my life jacket on there. Do you call it a life jacket, a life vest, or a life preserver? What do you call it? Depends on where you're from and how you grew up, I think. All right, so we'll do a life jacket, and I'm gonna put it. Oh, I don't want to do that because it's gonna show. Even though I want to cover up my little smudge, I'm just gonna do it. It's totally fine. I could put a little rock there if I wanted to too. All right. Thank you again for joining me. It was so much fun to create this card. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single Paper Pumpkin alternate or fun fold card that we make here, as well as lots of other things. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you for the next month, which since we are late with April, you're going to see May's pretty quick here. All right. Have a wonderful day.